What if the most powerful Vanara kingdom wasn't built on loyalty, but on betrayal? What if the sacred brotherhood that once protected it was also the reason it collapsed? Long before Ram set foot in Kishkindha, this land had already seen legends rise, dynasties fall, and a battle of blood that shaped its fate. Because Kishkindha was never just a kingdom, it was a test of dharma, power, and sacrifice. And when the war ended, it didn't crumble into dust. It disappeared into the jungle, remembered only in whispers. Hey fam, we are UntoldRealm, and this is not just mythology. This is the past no one told you about. This is the story of Kishkindha. Long before Bali and Sugriv were even born, Kishkindha was not a kingdom. It was a sacred forest, ruled by shifting tribes, spiritual leaders, and ancient customs. The land was guided by the Vanashakti clan, a coalition of warrior monks who believed the jungle itself was divine. There were no crowns, no walls, no palaces. Authority moved with wisdom, and leadership passed through those who held balance, not weapons. But power, once tasted, never sleeps for long. As generations passed, the peaceful order began to fracture. Rival clans emerged. Some questioned the old ways. One such group, the Pranava warriors, broke away, believing that strength, not harmony, should define rule. Their influence spread fast, especially in the outer forest zones, where survival was brutal and patience meant weakness. And then came a warrior unlike any other, a child born of both lineages, Vanashakti and Pranava, trained in discipline, raised in chaos. His name was Bali. This is where everything began to change. Bali wasn't just a warrior, he was a storm waiting to happen. Born at the edge of two worlds, one rooted in discipline, the other in dominance, he grew up questioning everything. He trained in the sacred arts of Vanashakti, but carried the fierce pride of the Pranava bloodline. And as tribal conflicts escalated, Bali stopped asking questions and started changing the answers. When a border clan raided the forest shrines, Bali didn't wait for the elders to respond. He gathered the young, the strong, the angry, and led his first retaliation. It wasn't sanctioned, it wasn't graceful, but it worked, and it made him a hero. The elders warned him, he smiled, then he kept going. Within seasons, he had united rival clans under one war banner, not through negotiation, but through sheer force. Villages that once followed the old spiritual ways now pledged loyalty to Bali's cause. And as his influence spread, so did his vision. A new Kishkindha, not just a home for Vanaras, but a kingdom. One with walls, with borders, with power. Bali transformed the jungle into a stronghold. Sacred grounds became military camps. Tribal chants were replaced by war drums. And for the first time in its history, Kishkindha stopped listening to the forest and started marching to the beat of an empire. The golden era had begun. But gold, as always, comes with a cost. With every conquest, Bali grew stronger, but so did his shadow. The kingdom he built had power, wealth, and fear, but it no longer had trust. The Vanaras who once followed him out of belief now obeyed him out of silence. Among them was his own brother, Sugriv. Sugriv was not like Bali. He didn't crave dominance. He believed in order, in alliances, in peace. But in Bali's growing paranoia, even Sugriv's silence felt like betrayal. And betrayal, Bali never forgave. It began with whispers, then accusations, and then an ambush. Sugriv was forced to flee, exiled from the kingdom he helped build. The forest that once protected him now hunted him. Alone, betrayed, and banished, Sugriv took refuge in the mountains, living with nothing but the memory of a brother who had become a tyrant. And then, destiny shifted. From the north came a prince in exile, Ram of Ayodhya, searching for his stolen wife. When Sugriv met him, it wasn't just two exiles crossing paths. It was the start of a divine alliance. Ram didn't offer an army. He offered justice. And for the first time, Sugriv had a chance to reclaim not just his kingdom, but Kishkindha's soul. What followed was swift. With Ram's arrow and Sugriv's knowledge of the land, Bali was struck down, not as a warrior, but as a king who had forgotten why he ruled in the first place. The forest fell silent that day. The empire didn't celebrate, it mourned. And just like that, the throne passed to Sugriv. But peace is never simple, and Kishkindha's story was far from over. As Bali fell, the skies over Kishkindha seemed to shift. The jungle, once thick with fear, began to breathe again. But in the silence that followed, another presence rose, one that felt older than the trees and stronger than the winds. Ram had arrived. He wasn't there to conquer. He wasn't there for power. He had come searching for Sita. Stolen from his side, taken across the land and hidden in the shadows of Lanka. And in Kishkindha he found more than help. He found purpose. The meeting between Ram and Sugriv wasn't political. It was sacred. One was a prince in exile, the other a king newly crowned. Both had lost something they loved, and in that shared loss they made a vow. Sugriv would send his Vanara warriors to scour the earth for Sita. In return, Ram had already given him justice. The kind that comes not from war, but from truth. From that day forward, the name Kishkindha would no longer echo with betrayal or blood. It would stand for something else, a kingdom that stood beside Ram when the world turned its back, a kingdom that became the bridge between man and myth. And so, with winds shifting and vows spoken, Kishkindha prepared for the mission that would shape history. Because finding Sita was not just a rescue, it was the beginning of a war.